Hi dear friends, good morning. Welcome back to Akshadari. I'm Devraj. I hope you guys are doing great. ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಅನ್ಕೊಂತೀನಿ. ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಕಲಿತಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್ನ ಅನ್ಕೊಂತೀನಿ. ಸೊ ಇಂದಿನ ವಿಡಿಯೋಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರೋ ಟಿಪ್ಸನ್ನು ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೊಂತೀನಿ. So let's start the today newspaper reading. Before going to start the newspaper reading, ನೀವಿನ್ನೂ ನನ್ನ ಚಾನಲ್ಗೆ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ನನ್ನ ಚಾನಲ್ಗೆ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಐ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಮುಂದಿನ ದಿನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಒಳ್ಳೊಳ್ಳೆ ವಿಡಿಯೋಗಳನ್ನು ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಕೇಷನ್ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡು, ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್, ಎಜುಕೇಷನ್ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್, ಕಾಂಪಿಟೇಟಿವ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ಸ್ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ ವಿಡಿಯೋಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಅಪ್ಡೇಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ತುಂಬ ಈಸಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಕಮೆಂಟ್. ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಲೈಕ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಕಮೆಂಟ್ ಬಟನ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ. So anyway, let's start the newspaper reading. Today newspaper reading The Hindu, which is very important for the competitive exams. So let's start reading. Yes, let's start the newspaper reading. Today is 5th July 2023. So let's see what's in the front page of the Hindu newspaper, which is very important and which is very good uh, and newspaper to make you better in communication. So let's start reading. The feedback is important for us. And notice India lodges a protest with Canada over pro-Khalistan posters. Nadda appoints new chiefs in four states. Israel pressures on Palestinian attacker wounds state. PM is the Manghai man, says Congress. Karnataka hit hard by OMS's discontinuation. It had bought over 50% of the rice in 5 of 8 years. Gurpreet heroics give India a CFF title. SEO calls for multipolar world order as Iran joins grouping. Indicating lack of consensus, India sees out of statements on economic cooperation and on China's Belt and Road Initiative. Owing to projects in POK, SEO calls for cooperation on digital payments and countering radicalization. 44 over speeding vehicles booked. India in SC Uddhav camp says Speaker delaying disqualification process. It is imperative for this court to direct the Speaker to decide the disqualification petitions expeditiously. After SC Live split verdict on Senthil Balaji's arrest, SC refuses ED petition to take over case. Man who was on the run after killing girlfriend arrested. The police said the accused was enraged as the girl had refused to marry him. C Camp partners with Capital 2B to fund science innovations. A huge rush as Purple Line metro services is disrupted. According to BMRCL officials, the main reason for the disruption was changing of power supply systems, including uninterruptible power supply at Bayapanahalli station on Monday night. Two arrested for cooking up story to pocket cash. Archana Joshi takes over as a GM of Railway Wheel Factory. Green Nagar police unearth interstate drug racket amid drama. Complaint about network problem hands with homemaker losing 3 lakh to man posing as customer care executive. The Canmon instructed the woman to download a remote access and a remote control software through which he got access to a payment app on her phone. Rohini Nilekani Center for Brain and the Mind launched 4 farms in race for suburban rail corridor for civil work. 44 over-speeding vehicles booked on Bangalore-Mysore Expressway. The move by the police comes amid concerns over alarming number of accidents on the highway. Red alert for coastal districts today. Water Adalat. 7 minors held for murder of college mate. Seven minor boys were held and a youth arrested for allegedly killing their 17-year-old college mate on Monday. Basveshwaranagar police said on to July 1st the worked victim identified as Suhani K and the accused had a fight during the freshers' party at a private college where they were pursuing PUC. After the incident, the accused hatched a plan to attack Suhail. On Monday, the accused attacked him near the college and stabbed him. He was rushed to the hospital. The police said he died at the hospital due to massive bleeding and failing to respond to the treatment. This kind of harassments must be stopped by the government, school, college authorities. Uproar as BJP demand for discussion on guarantees is turned down. Party insisted on discussion before question. However, BJP number members then resorted to dharna in both assembly and council. BSY endorses HDK's corruption charges against the government and says he will join Anderson from the fight. Congress JDS continue to trade bobs over traffic transport mafia. Suggestions sought on expanding Mysore sandals market. Confederation of Indian Industry congratulates on the historic visit to USA. Pay tribute to Halluri Sitharama Raju by imbibing his values as his president. The message to be drawn from the life of the tribal warrior is to work selflessly and fearlessly for the well being of the deprived sections of the society. His struggle against injustice is a proud chapter in India's freedom struggle, says Murmu. Sexual abuse private home sealed. Karnataka Lopi Balnav in the court of BJP central leadership. Central observers complete the process of eliciting views of state leaders and MLAs. Even as day 2 of the legislature session was held without an LOP. Thank you, Bangalore and Chikkaballapur, for taking this season to gastronomical heights. Geographies are divided over power skills. According to a recent study in India, teamwork, generosity, and optimism take a center stage in the workplace. LinkedIn data lists fast growing jobs, functions, and industries for fresh graduates. Yes, some notifications which work out by different governments, different states governments. So if anybody interested, you can go through the recruitment process. Common is a recruitment process for recruitment of clerks in participating banks. So application process for BIBPS has been started from 1st of July from and last date is 21st July. So if anybody interested to apply for the clerk, so they can apply for this. A macro view of the physical health of state. Let's go read this editorial page. Mm, In India, the states mobilize altogether more than a third of total revenue, spend 60% of combined government's expenditure, and have a share in government borrowing that is around 40%. Given the size of the physical cooperation of states, an up to date understanding of their finances is critical in order to draw evidence based inferences on the physical situation of the country. In short, an analysis of the emerging physical situation of states by examining key data on state finances from individual state budgets for 23-24. Fiscal imbalance and consolidation as we complete the first quarter of the fiscal year 2023 to 24, it is becoming evident that the increase in general government deficit and debate that occurred during the COVID-19 pandemic has begun to recede. There have been significant post-pandemic fiscal corrections at the union and state levels. At the union level, the fiscal deficit declined from 9.1% of the GDP in 2021 to 21 to 5.9% in 23-24. Our state fiscal deficit was 4.1% of GDP in 2020 to 21. It declined to 3.24% of GDP in 22 to 23. So it is expected to be 2.9% of GDP. This sharp reduction in fiscal deficit suggests that we cannot have an impressionistic view of the fiscal situation of the country, especially on the finances of states, due to the absence of aggregation of individual state budget data. A consolidated view of general government finances is not readily available. Every year, this data become available only after the publication of the Reserve Bank of India's annual study on state finances. Aggregating fiscal data from individual state budgets is rigorous and time consuming. Hence, the timeline of this publication by the RBI is during the second half of the financial year. The analysis here is based on the data collected from the individual budgets of 17 major states. These states are responsible for more than 90% of the combined spending of all states. Thus, fiscal issues such emerging out of their budgets are representative of the state finances in India. The analysis shows that these states altogether have managed to contain their fiscal deficits. This fiscal consolidation is significant in many ways. First, states in aggregate managed to be fiscally prudent despite a significant contraction in revenues even during the peak of COVID 19. Second, emergency provision for health spending and livelihood during the COVID 19 pandemic was not easy and required union state fiscal coordination. Third, states were able to prioritize expenditure and quickly contain the fiscal deficit. Fourth, the reduction in fiscal deficit is a combination of expenditure side adjustments, improved goods and services tax collection, and higher tax devolution due to buoyant central revenues. Fifth, non GST revenues are also showing signs of recovery after the pandemic in most states. Fiscal challenges. However, there are significant fiscal challenges that need correction in this short to medium time frame. The most critical being containing the revenue deficit of states. The reduction in fiscal deficit has not been accompanied by a corresponding reduction in revenue deficit. As in 2023 to 24, out of 17 major states, 13 states have deficit in the revenue account. Out of 13 states, fiscal deficits in 7 states are primarily driven by revenue deficits. The states being Andhra Pradesh, Haryana, Kerala, Punjab, Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, and West Bengal, they also have large debate to GSDP ratios. It is true that the mere presence of a revenue deficit cannot be considered as a sign of fiscal profligacy. It is also true that pressure on revenue expenditure was high during the COVID 19 pandemic. A more detailed and careful analysis of the rise in revenue deficit of states is also necessary. However, increasing revenue deficit are driving the fiscal imbalance has long run fiscal implications, and there is a need to correct this imbalance in the revenue account. For these 7 states, their specific share of revenue deficit in fiscal deficit for 23-24 are Andhra Pradesh 40.9%, Haryana 50.9%, Kerala 60.4%, Punjab 70.7%, Rajasthan 39.7%, Tamil Nadu 40.8%, and West Bengal 47%. The all state share of revenue deficit in fiscal deficit for the same year is expected to be 77%. An assessment of successive finance commissions since the 12th Finance Commission identified 3 states, that is Kerala, Punjab, West Bengal, as fiscally stretched states. The number of states that are now fiscally stretched has increased to 7, measured in terms of level of revenue deficit. What does it mean for general government microeconomic stability? Essence of this can be made when the following fiscal member numbers are considered. The combined fiscal deficit of these states is 3.71% of GSDP, when the whole state average for the same is 2.9%. Their combined revenue deficit is 2.9%, 2.15%, 2 point average for the same is 2.9%. Then combined revenue deficit is 2.15% of GSDP, when the whole state revenue deficit is 0.78%. Their combined debate ratio is higher than the Finance Commission recommended debate ratio for all states for the year 23-24. These states altogether contribute around 40% to India's GDP. In this context, to ensure higher state specific growth, the physical stability of state finances is critical. Some of these states have also been big drivers of public capital expenditures and favored investments are destinations of private investors. Framework of revenue deficit consolidation. And the question of revenue deficit, a long run view is also necessary. If you examine data from the last 20 years, revenue deficit had almost disappeared from state budgets before COVID 19. States in aggregate were generating revenue surpluses almost all the years during this period. However, the re-emergence of revenue deficit in recent years should take the focus back on the management of revenue deficit by creating an incentive compatible framework. The following measures can be considered. Going forward, interest free loans to the states by the union government, if continued, may be linked to a reduction in our revenue deficit. This will help eliminate the possibility of a substitution of states' own capital spending and also prevent the diversion of borrowed resources to finance revenue expenditure. A defined time path for revenue deficit reduction with a credible fiscal adjustment plan would help restore fiscal balance and improve quality of expenditure. A forward looking performance incentive grants could also be considered for a reduction of revenue deficit. In this context, different approaches provided by earlier finance commissions can be considered to decide the framework of the incentive structure. In conclusion, we need to get the focus back on the management of revenue deficit. For this, a micro view is essential. Let's go to the next. An incomplete reform. Despite gains, the indirect tax regime is yet to become truly simple or efficient. Antibiotics with promise. A lifeline India avoids. A coordinator of the Chennai Declaration and on antimicrobial resistance and a consultant in infectious diseases. Apollo Hospital. Let's read this article. In the relentless battle against highly drug resistant infections, a team of doctors recently witnessed a glimmer of hope and amid the challenges they faced. Their extraordinary efforts and the life they saved highlight the critical need for action. This is not just a story, it is an earnest plea for emergency use authorization for essential antibiotics that can make a profound difference between life and death. In an intensive care room of a leading hospital in Hyderabad, an 18-year-old patient bravely fought not only his aggressive T cell leukemia but also a formidable and resistant adversary, extensively drug resistant Pseudomonas aeruginosa. This strain, known for its high resistance to multiple antibiotics, left the medical team with a limited and often ineffective treatment options. Despite the administration of last resort antibiotics, the patient's condition deteriorated rapidly. Persisting fever spikes and the infection's assault on his lungs signaled a grave situation. The bacteria were literally eating up the patient's face. Time was running out, and his life hung in the balance. An Indian innovation. In their request for a lifeline, the doctors turned to a promising antibiotic, a life Cipafime, Jibactam. Zidibactam, developed by Indian researchers. This antibiotic combines two active components to combat drug-resistant gram-negative pathogens, including Pseudomonas aeruginosa. While still undergoing phase 3 trials internationally, this Indian innovation has shown remarkably potential. Under a compassionate use protocol, the necessary approvals were obtained, and the patient received cipipime and jailed back to. Miraculously, signs of clinical improvement began to surface. The patient's fever subsided, blood cultures turned negative, and the need for oxygen diminished. Slowly but steadily, strength returned, reigniting hope. This extraordinary case underscores the urgent importance of granting EUA for antibiotics currently in phase 3 trials are licensed from other countries. The survival of this young patient serves as a poignant reminder of the need for timely access to effective antibiotics for those most in need. A dire situation, infection specialist, intensivist, oncologist, and doctors treating severe infections in critically ill and immunocompromised patients are confronted with a grave reality. The scarcity of patent antibiotics to combat drug resistant infections poses a direct threat to countless lives. It is distressing to witness patients succumb to infections just because the available antibiotics have lost their effectiveness due to rising resistance. The dire situation faced by doctors as they grapple with drug resistant infections is a devastating reality that cannot be ignored. Each year, millions of lives are lost due to the inadequacy of available antibiotics in the face of these formidable pathogens. The relentless march of drug resistance has rendered once effective treatments ineffective. The challenges faced by doctors in combating drug resistant infections are multifaceted. They must navigate through a shrinking arsenal of effective antibiotics, leaving them with limited choices and often resorting to suboptimal treatments that may have significant side effects or offer little hope or a cure of a cure. The constant race against time, trying to stay one step ahead of the mutating bacteria, adds to the immense pressure and helplessness experienced by doctors on the front lines. India, a nation that has demonstrated remarkable progress in granting EUA for COVID 19 vaccines, now stands at a critical juncture. We need to extend the same level of urgency and commitment to saving the lives of patients who may otherwise succumb to infections resistant to all currently available antibiotics. While it is true that several antibiotics are licensed within our country based on small clinical studies and of questionable benefit, we must recognize that what we truly need are powerful weapons to fight against drug resistant infections. Antibiotics that have been thoroughly evaluated are proven to be effective are essential in the battle against superbugs. Capepime Jidibactam is a shining example of India's scientific prowess. Currently undergoing international phase 3 trials, this antibiotic has demonstrated its potential to save lives. By recognizing the importance of Cepepime Jidibactam and expediting its EUA, we not only save lives within our borders but also extend a helping hand around the globe to countless individuals in desperate need of effective treatment options. Made by Japan, Spideracol, a licensed antibiotic in several countries, developed by a Japanese company, has demonstrated excellent efficacy against drug-resistant infections. It is disheartening that it remains unavailable within our country. The gravity of the cases faced by patients in India demands access to this life saving antibiotic, and we firmly believe it should be made accessible without delay. However, we must emphasize the importance of responsible and appropriate utilization of these medications. A collective decision by a team of experienced doctors, including infectious diseases experts, should be made mandatory before initiating their use. This will ensure that these powerful antibiotics are administered to patients who will benefit the most while minimizing the risk of misuse or overuse. We implore the authorities to recognize the urgent need for action and acknowledge the immense potential of these life-saving antibiotics. By granting EUA for Cipipime, Bactum, an Indian innovation, and Cipidorocol, a globally recognized antibiotic, we can strengthen our arsenal against drug-resistant infections. Their inclusion in the EUA list would not only empower doctors but also instill a renewed sense of hope and confidence among patients and their family families. As a nation known for its scientific achievements, we have the opportunity to make a substantial impact on the world stage. World stage. This is about the an antibiotic which is made available but not regular. So let's go to the next page. Thwarting Twitter ruling in favor of blocking should not be the last word on social media law. Let's go to the next page. Lessons from the fracas over food grains. The Kerala BJP faces a massive roadblock. The UCC debate on the Manipur violence have affected its outreach to minorities. Karnataka OMS is top beneficiary hit hard by discontinuation. Oldest confrontation in the world, Bhutto. Bunker clearing exercise to begin in Manipur today. Kuki groups have said they will oppose the move as they are using the structures to defend their villages in fresh violence. One killed during attempt to loot weapons from police camp in Taubal. BJP picks new chiefs in post states, triggers talk of Shapalin government. UCC will bind Bharat more effectively. She is a VP at IIT Guwahati. Customs of tribal populace will be respected, says Union Minister on UCC. Traditional way of living of tribals has to be protected. Jharkhand governor Tina Ambani appears before ED in a FEMA case. Went with majority view on BJP type Praful Patel. He plays down reports that he will join the Union cabinet, says NCP Malays had returned to party supremo Sharad Pawar during the Sena split and had wanted to join the Sindhi BJP government. Jharkhand SC grants leave to Rahul in Modi surname case. Delhi-based think tank Center for Policy Research loses tax exemption status. AP may skip opposition meet over Congress stance on Delhi ordinance. Congress slams BJP government over price rise. SC defers swearing in of Justice Kumar as DERC chief. The court issued notice to the centre in a challenge by the Delhi government against the appointment and posted matter to July 11. SG accuses AAP government of playing with a retired judge. The Delhi government will pay for the commissions. It will be responsible for the conduct, but it has no role in the appointments. Delhi court seeks minor SLS response. NIA attaches Amritsar property in narco terror case. Modi government has compromised rail safety, says Congress. SC seeks government response on purely failure to fill NHRC vacancies. Government to help combat child trafficking in border areas. Set up rehabilitation homes. These homes will provide shelter, food, clothing, counseling, and other daily needs for these victims. Center state tussle over MOMSs may take spotlight at food ministers who meet. Quote to yearly on making SC status religion neutral, the sacred animal. Cambodia bans members of Meta board over Facebook row with PM. Russian reporter hospitalized after being badly beaten in Chechnya. For the first time in a decade, Egypt, Turkey apart and wise. Five killed, two boys wounded in US as gunmen open fire on streets. Toll in Israel's Jenin attack rises to 10. Palestinian owns 8 in Tel Aviv. A human militant drove his car into a bus stop in Tel Aviv and began stabbing people. He was shot and killed by a civilian. In the Jenin refugee camp in the West Bank, Israelis military bulldozers had tore through alleys while thousands fled to safety. Stoltenberg to remain at NATO helm for another year. Sudan fighter jet shot down as battles rage. Peak of violence has passed, says Macron. Women's salons to shut in Afghanistan. What is this? Shelved 2017-18 HCEC showed Maharashtra's inequality widening. Food costs crossed 40% of urban households' monthly spends in 2017-18. First time in 18 years. Households consumption expenditure survey shows. S&P says Indian farms in good credit shape. Rising domestic demand in India and recovery in sectors are more than offsetting negatives. Government will not impede work by startups. Meta to introduce a Twitter challenger of threads via Instagram this week. HP VVDN Tech to produce 1 billion worth of services under PLI. GIC plans to invest to 663 million in smart metering ventures. Aryan swings his way to man's 1500-meter record in senior nationals. Indians women team for you to Chongtan and Manisha named AIFF Players of the Year to 2023. Gurpreet emerges hero in the India shootout triumph. Federer receives a lengthy standing ovation at Wimbledon from fans. Scotland scuttles Zimbabwe chances stays in contention. Agarkar named chairman of BCCI Senior Men's Selections Committee. Philipsen takes second straight stage win, eight stays ahead. South takes on North in battle of equals. West meets the Central for a shot at the title. Alkharraj begins his campaign in style. Ribbon Kina survives an early setback. We created a memories, proved what we can do when given time and space. Branding me a test player is not phase. Says Vihari wants to play all formats. Have grown as a white ball player, but many don't want to believe that. Says the batter who nurtures aspirations of making a comeback in the IPL. Sindhu slips to 15th in the latest badminton world rankings. And 14 member Indian team named for Asian Youth TT. The last year has been very good and I am very happy. I'm happy to get recognition. Sai Sudarshan. Bagan fans give Martinez a rousing reception. Brazil legend Marta says 2023 Cup will be lost. Jota giants Benzema and Kante at Saudi champion all Ittihad. The speed of the game has to be taken in the right speed. Back on the mat, Pawan determined to bring home the gold we lost. The most expensive player in APKL history, bought by Tamil Thrai was for 2.26 crore, was thrown out of action after sustaining an ACL injury during the opener of Pro Kabaddi League Session 9. Here is how he curated rehab and exercise regime helped the star get to the best shape of his life. The time we away due to injury and the comeback was not tough for me. It was a challenge and I love it. A good challenge. Now the task was to up my level. Task was to up my level of performance from what I did before. Uma Chatri's journey from humble beginnings in Assam to India colors. Manx missile shooting for the stars. Understanding leptospirosis, a disease that surges during the monsoon. The disease has been Ili Jwara in Kannada and Ili Pani in Malayalam, both meaning rat fever. This usage has made a common belief that rats are the sole cause of the disease, which is not true. Leptospirosis has a spectrum of reservoirs, including pigs, cattle, water buffaloes, goats, dogs, asses, and sheep. The disease is caused by a bacterium called Leptospira and Trogans or Leptospira. It is a contagious disease in animals but is occasionally transmitted to humans in certain environmental conditions. What are the symptoms? What are the micro misconceptions? Why which people are at risk? The sleigh shape of flames. Christ University Kannada Sangha carrying forward a literary legacy. The Kannada Sangha's primary focus and the biggest achievement has been recognizing, platforming, and publishing students or writers to create progressive Kannada consciousness. Bangalore leads in office space leasing with 7 million square feet, says Realty Advisory firm Knight Frank. Bangalore based Credit Square to set up R&D hub in Goa. Bangalore traders protest. Get Pet Go. A handful of eateries in the city have a dedicated menu for pets. Incubating indie artists tried, tested, and served with a twist. Fun with Punkatrix. The student debate crisis in the US. The number of mass shootings in the United States this year. Budgetary and welfare support to Sri Lanka from the World Bank. Record low number of babies born in Singapore in 2022. Length of completed Ramban viaduct along Jammu Srinagar. The number of Palestinians killed this year in West Bank. The student debate crisis in the US. What was the earlier plan of the US President Joe Biden to cancel student loan debate, and why did the US Supreme Court block it? What is the new plan and how is it connected to that 2003 Heroes Act? Why is the Biden administration promoting broad loan cancellations and cancelling soaring students loans? This is the last page. The irrevocable connection between anemia and maternal health. A study conducted on anemic pregnant women of low and middle income countries has found that there is a strong link between anemia and postpartum uh, hemorrhage. The risk of death are near miss very high. No, you were on July 5, 1918, and Seinfeld, an American television sitcom, premiered on NBC Equicha, the show that is regarded as one of the most influential sitcoms of all time. So, if you need any information, if you want to read this like a text and context page, you guys can read at least read the newspaper a minimum 40 minutes to 2 hours. So it will make you very better in communication. I am sure you will be very fluent in English in the next 30 days if you read at least 2 hours a day. So I'm going to hand this video, and please subscribe the channel, like and comment for more videos related to healthcare, education, and personal interviews. So let's see you in the upcoming videos, guys. Have a great day. Bye bye. Take care.